within. Every tale crawls beneath my skin. The hunt begins, let the screams begin. Monsters unleashed, no turning back. They walk in echoes, they paint the black. From shadowed woods to basement doors, they live in tales and something more. Clicking claws in the hallway crawl. Footsteps where there should be none at all. Breath on glass, but you're alone. Or are you just a voice through the phone? Whispers say it's just pretend, but stories never really end. When silence breaks, the fear ascends. They're not inside, they're in your head. Monsters unleashed, no turning back. They speak in tongues, they leave no track. Through coke tapes and haunted streams, they feed on fear, they live and scream. They live and scream. The creak, the sigh, the static bite. Each episode, another bite of something wrong, just out of sight. Listener discretion is advised. Monsters unleashed, you called their name. You played the tape, you're part of the game. From every tale, the darkness grows. You thought you knew, but now it knows. Monsters unleashed, and you press play. Now they know you, they're on their way.
Hey everyone, welcome to Monsters Unleashed podcast. Tonight we've got Rob Effler, and we got our co-host back, Trisha Collins. And tonight we're going to talk to Rob. We're going to give Rob his opportunity to tell us some of his stories. Rob's the reason that I got into podcasting, and I went on to the NCI, the North Carolina Investigates podcast on Channel 12 TV network. And he's been real good to me, and I consider him a friend. So let's hear a little bit of what Rob's got to say to everyone. And I think that you'll find it really, really interesting. He's got some good, true stories. So, Rob, you go ahead and take the floor, my man.
Well, I appreciate it, Michael. Be honest, I don't know exactly where to start. Originally, I got my start in paranormal investigations back in 2007. I formed a team called Godart Paranormal Investigations, GDPI, for those that may remember that. We ran until probably 2012. We had several good paranormal investigations. We had some investigations that was downright comical, and we pretty much debunked quite a few things. But in 2012, I started getting some reports on some Bigfoot activity here in Western North Carolina, and I was sitting there scratching my head thinking, no, that can't be right. Bigfoot's usually out Oregon, Pacific Northwest, up in Canada and Alaska and the Himalayas. I thought, well, these people's pulling my leg. Well, I got doing a little bit of research and got checking out a few areas that BFRO had listed that was not too far from my house. And I thought, maybe there is something other to this. Well, in 2019 is when I had my first Bigfoot encounter, and I guess that was the bug that bit that sparked a fire that's never been put out. I mean, it's the first two I saw was one of them was a juvenile. He was light blonde in color, probably anywhere between the size of a 5 to 8 year old kid. He wasn't very big. He was covered in light blonde shaggy hair from the top of his head to the end of his toes. And there was another one with it. I don't know if it was his mama or his daddy, uncle, grandma. I don't know how. The Bigfoot clans, tribes. I call them tribes. A lot of people calls them families. Some people calls them clans. I don't know how they classify themselves because we've never sat down and had a conversation with any of them. And as far as I know, nobody else has either. And it was a light brown in color, about 4 foot wide at the shoulders. And the only thing I could see was from the waist up. So those two, when I saw those, that gave me the fever. And then I think it was 2021, 2 years later, me and my wife, we were with another team, and this is way before NCI got started. We were with another team down in McDowell County, and we had three sections of the team. The team was a pretty good sized unit. We had about 3 or 4 in one and 3 or 4 in another one, and me and my wife was the odd ones out. Well, we got in the woods. We were put in the middle. Team number one was about 1.5 miles off to our right. Team number two was about, I'd say probably close to 1 mile off to our left. And we got up in there, and we wasn't really and truly expecting, to see much. I mean, we'd seen some tree breaks and tree twists and this, that, and the other. The area was pretty promising, but we really and truly wasn't, didn't have our heart set on seeing one. Well, my light was a flickering, and I thought it had a detachable battery pack on the back of it. It was one of them that you plugged into like a cell phone charger or something, and plugged up in your vehicle. Well, it went to going out. Well, when it started making, flickering and everything, I thought, well, I've got a sack full of batteries in my pocket. Well, to make a long story short, I was just standing there just gomming around with my light. My wife, she was about 25 feet off to my right. It was around about 10 o'clock at night. You could still see the outline of the trees, but you couldn't tell, an oak from a maple or a pine tree. Anybody can tell that, but oaks and maples and poplars, you couldn't make them out. The only thing you knew, it was outline of the tree. Well, she goes to hollering, cut your light out, let your eyes adjust, and come here. Well, when I got over where she was at, she said, "Tell me what we're looking at." I said, "Okay, hold on a minute." And I got to looking at it. I said, "Holy crap." And I said, "There he is. About 9.5 foot tall, 4 foot wide at the shoulders, looked like a 4x8 sheet of plywood at about 70 yards out." And he started coming in a little bit closer, and I went to reaching for my pistol because I had no idea what this creature was going to do. I didn't know if he was getting ready to bum rush. I didn't know if he was going to throw rocks. Didn't know if he was getting ready to do God knows what. Well, he seen me reaching for my pistol, and he just automatically just bowed up and stopped. When he bowed up and stopped, he turned, which was my left, which would be to his right, and started going back up a hill up into a big oak grove. I knew the area from being in there in the daylight. And she said, "Where's he going?" I said, "If he goes to the top of that ridge and drops off on the back side of it," I said, "there's a big old rock cliff back in there. And my guess is," I said, "there's probably some caves in there." And I said, "Odds are he's going home." I said, "If that's where he's going, let him go." So that was the experience number two, which made Bigfoot number three, because the first two was the juvenile and the one that was with it. Well, a little bit later on, we seen another one over in East Tennessee. That was just downright, completely, totally off guard awesome. I had, this was after NCI was formed. We formed NCI in, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was late 2023. I think it was in September. And it was just before Christmas, if I'm not bad fooled. We was in East Tennessee. It was me and George and another investigator for NCI, Harley. We all three were walking along this one little old trail, and just so happened we were being paralleled by something other off to our left. Well, when we got to halfway out that trail, the weather wasn't really truly that great that day. We had a little bit of snow, a little bit of sleet. Couldn't make up its mind if it was going to rain. Completely, totally overcast. I mean, one of the worst days in the world to try to take prints and cast them or anything else. And I kept seeing this shadow in front of us, probably about 30 yards out. I thought, now wait just a minute, something other don't seem right. How in the world can that shadow be there? Well, Harley, he just bowed up and stopped because he was paying attention to what was going on to our left. I was listening and paying attention. George was behind me. He was trying to get his camera was acting stupid for some other reason or another. He was trying to get it to work where he could set it back up on his shoulder. And about that time, it just stepped out and got looking like this around. Well, I hollered at him to whoa and stop. Well, Harley just balked like a horse, and so did George. And that devil took off in front of the trail in front of us, went off down through the woods, and went about 100 yards in less than 7 seconds.
Wow.
So we got to witness that one, but we wasn't quick enough on the draw to get to that dang camera shot. And then when we were over in Franklin, North Carolina, that was, I think it was last year, about a few days, either before or a few days after 4th of July. I can't remember which. That's when we saw the other one take off down the ridge, and we saw 2 juveniles run up through the bushes. And the juveniles probably, they probably looked like about the size of about 9 to 10-year-old kids. One of them was sort of a dark brown, and the other one was jet black. And after, let's see, it was George. Oh, yeah, it was George, Harley, and my wife. They went tearing up the side of the ridge, trying to figure out if they could get close enough to get a camera shot. But Tim and I was down there at what we called the playground. They had everything in the world intricately placed up there on that. They had looked like a balancing beam where something other could run up it. They had grapevines. I mean, you could tell it took something other with hands to tie them grapevines in, because them grapevines wasn't in there natural because they wasn't attached to any tree, period.
Mm-hmm.
And the grass and everything that was in there was completely totally wore down. There was juvenile prints, grown up prints all over the place. But there was so much leaf litter, you couldn't cast anything. That broke our heart all to pieces. Man, Tim was trying to figure out how we was going to cast everything. So those other 3 got growled at, and they decided it's time to go back where Tim and Rob was at. It'd be the safest place to be at, because you get between a female Bigfoot and her little ones is about like getting between a mama bear and her cubs. You're getting
Yeah.
in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, as you said in that one podcast, the groundhog we bring your mail.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Groundhogs bring you your mail quickly.
Hmm.
And I mean, we've had some investigations. It was, I think it was last year. Maybe, yeah, I believe it was. It was around that same time we seen those three, and it was either Tim or Harley one. I can't remember which one it was. One of them's got the video. I don't have it with me, but there's a still shot from that video over. I think it's over George's right shoulder. 25 feet behind him, there stands Dogman. We didn't even see him. We didn't even know it was there.
Wow. Wow, that's
We
scary.
had no idea. We had no idea. Had no confounded clue. That's how stealthy these things are. If they don't move, you're not going to notice they're there. You're not going to know they're anywhere around.
Yeah. Uh, Trisha was telling me today you'd read on this thing or seen on this thing that someone had said a dog man could be 15 foot in front of you and you wouldn't even know he was there.
Yeah.
Bigfoot can be at that distance and you'd never know it's there.
Yeah.
A lot of people will, they'll snot off and say, well, how can that be? Well, George and Tim and I, we done a test. It was back in the spring. I think it was right around about late January, I think. We went up on location that Tim's got, and I said, boys, I said, this question, I said, has been burning my Facebook up, been burning my inbox up. I said, let's try this and see what happens. Well, Tim's a big old burly boy, anyways. I mean, he's stocky. He's, in my opinion, he's 265 pounds of nothing but pure obliterated muscle.
Mhm.
George probably, I'd say he'd go about 250, 260, somewhere around in there. And George is all muscle. Well, them's pretty good sized old boys, and they're about 6'1" apiece, about same height as I am. I'm 6'1". So I turned Tim crossways behind the tree, like this right here is the tree, and this right here is their shoulders. You could see Tim's shoulders on either side of the tree. Well, you turn Tim like this, you couldn't see him. I
Mhm.
was 20 feet away from him with a camera. We done George the same way. So if a human being can do that, and you look at that picture and show somebody that picture and say, find George, find Tim in that picture, and they can't find them, what makes you think a Bigfoot and Dogman can't do the same darn thing?
Right. Right. I'm a pretty big guy. It'd take a big tree to put me behind one like that.
Well, to
So
be quite honest, I guarantee I can take a 8-inch diameter tree, put you behind it, and step back at a certain distance and snap a picture. Nobody know you're there.
yeah, yeah. I've actually been in the woods a lot of time hunting with people and be camo and be sitting right up in front of them and they not even see me. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's the movement that you pick up on
Oh yeah.
when you're broke when you've got breakup. It's the movement. It really is. That's the same way you can walk into the woods and be deer hunting and there'll be a big buck just right in front of you and you not even see him until an ear twitches or something like that.
I've had 6 points, have them in a scope, see them coming, and waiting for that perfect shot. Take your eye off of them for a split second because you hear something off to your left, and your mind automatically clicks over. Maybe that one's a bigger buck and they're fixing to fight. And you turn your head like this to look, and you come back to the scope, and you're like, okay, where did he go? He's blended into the environment. He didn't move. He just stood real still. And until, like you said, either that ear twitches or that tail twitches, or he drops that head, you don't know he's there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, And that's why I think people don't see them as much as they say, because people will be like, well, I go in the woods all the time, but I never see a Bigfoot, or I never see a Dogman, or I never see anything like that. And I believe you said it best that one time when you said that's because you're not looking.
Exactly. People don't
Yeah,
look.
yeah, you don't
And I
look a
mean,
lot.
I'm not throwing off on anybody. It's just, it's human nature. You watch your step. Make sure you don't trip over something other. And 9 times out of 10, you got your mind on something other else. A lot of people, when they go into the woods, they might have girlfriend troubles, wife troubles on their mind, money troubles. They're trying to get in, going into the woods, trying to get away from, life's challenges and life's trials that people at society throws at us. And, they might be out there thinking, well, I'm just going to take in the good old fresh air. Well, they're not looking. And a lot of these creatures, they'll pick up on that, and they're going to be sitting there thinking to themselves, I mean, I'm not sure, if they think, as rational as we do, but I'm pretty well convinced they've got critical thinking and they've got some strategic thinking as well. But I'm pretty well sure, in a figure of speech, they're sitting there going, well, this idiot ain't paying us no confounded attention. We can sit right here all day and just sit here and twiddle our thumbs. Wait till he goes on around the bend on the trail. We'll go do what we need to do and be right real good and quiet at it, and he'll never know nothing about it. And 9 times out of 10, people don't.
Yeah, that's true. It's really true. You hear a lot of people and a lot of other podcasts and stuff that give eyewitness accounts, and like they didn't see it until it moved, and you know, like if it hadn't moved, they'd have probably never seen it.
Exactly.
So, Trisha, what do you think about all this? I know you're kind of new into this too. I mean, you've had your own experiences and so on, but what do you think about all this stuff that you're just starting to get involved into?
Well, I mean, I never had thought about it the way that he just explained it. Like people go in the woods, and like for me, the woods is decompressing for me. I go there to decompress. Hunting is a decompression, skill that I like to do when I have the time. And I never thought about that way. Like people just don't look. Um, and years ago, before I saw what I saw at Grandview, I used to take my kids to this park called Plum Orchard up in Fayette County, West Virginia. And my boyfriend at the time had always been talking about Bigfoot. I thought he was crazy, you know. Like, nah, there ain't no Bigfoot. And then he'd be like, one day I'm going to prove it. I'm like, all right, let's get the kids, let's go Bigfoot hunting. So we go down Plum Orchard and we do tree knocks. Well, he would do tree knocks. And then me being sarcastic, I'm like, oh, well, let me call him. Doing tree knocks. And he was like, there's something here and you don't see it because you're not looking. But it's because I didn't know what to look for. So for everybody that's watching that you're kind of skeptical of this, Rob, what are some things that people that's new to this and they're trying to figure out if he's real or if he's not real? What are some things that they can go in to the woods and obviously see that can prove some of this?
Well, mostly tree breaks and tree twists is one. Generally, you can tell, if it's weather or straight line winds or whatever, you can generally tell by the way the environment is. You'll find 10 or 15 objects that's usually broke in the same direction. Now, what caused us to see the first two, and that's what we were mostly looking for. We was looking for tree twists, tree breaks, and we was looking for footprints or either handprints in the dirt. We found the top of a tree missing. That's what caught our eye. Well, we looked all over the place, couldn't find that tree. Now that pine tree was probably 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches around at the base, and it come up to about 3 inches at about 7 foot. Well, the whole complete teetotal top was just absolutely broke and splintered out, and it was the only tree around there that was like that. Previous to finding that, in the past 2 weeks, there wasn't no bad thunderstorms, wasn't no lightning storms. We didn't have any wind storms. It was still too warm to be snow damage or anything else for that matter. So we were still standing there trying to figure out where the top of that tree went. Now you get something other that you can generally tell. It takes hands to break something. A coon or a bear or a coyote or anything like that does not have hands to take an object and break it down to where it splinters.
Yeah.
And when you find laurel leaves and other laurel limbs, I should say, that's intertwined like a grapevine and just wove together. Nature does not do that.
No.
Nature does not have the ability to intertwine anything. And when you in some locations we've not found but one, and that was over in Cherokee, North Carolina. We found one of these. Mostly they're found in the Pacific Northwest and found in Alaska, where a tree is ripped completely, totally out of the ground, root ball exposed, turned upside down, and jammed 2 feet into the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Human cannot do that.
Yeah, I've
I've
seen
seen
some
a lot of
pictures
that
A,
of
on
hum,
that.
a human cannot
a
do
lot of
that.
shows. Yeah, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of pictures of trees ripped out of the ground and turned upside down and
And just
stuff
shoved
like
right
that.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen a
that's a
lot of
lot of
pictures of
that's
that
a lot of
too.
power.
That takes a lot of strength for something other
Yeah,
to rip something other, root and all, out of the ground and turn it upside down and shove it back in the ground, whether right beside where it got ripped out or carried 25, 30 feet and stoved up in the ground again.
yeah. I hardly got enough strength to rip a dandelion up out of the ground. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know the feeling. I used to be a billy goat back in the wood back in the day, but in the woods anymore, it gets too steep. That's when I reach in the old backpack and drag out the drone and say, "Okay, my little electronic billy goat, it's your turn to go up there and see what's up there."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I challenge someone to go the next time you're in the woods, find a small sapling, just a little small sapling, and try to pull that out of the ground and
Yeah,
see
Okay.
what it takes. Because once they've took root, I mean, it's hard, if almost impossible, to get some of these small ones out of the ground. If it's, I would say, if it's big as around as a banana, so we'll say a banana. If it's the big
Mhm.
around as a banana, you ain't pulling it out of the ground.
No,
It-
you take a laurel limb that's about the size of a banana, or even one half that size, and it's still green.
mhm.
Try to break that sucker and see what happens. It's going to take everything in your power to even crack the bark on it.
Yeah, I know. I played in the laurel bushes when I was a kid. We
Hmm.
used to love to go and build us like clubhouses up underneath of the laurel thickets and stuff like that. You know, spend
Oh
the
yeah,
many hot summers up underneath the laurel thickets. So it was about 20 degrees cooler under there.
oh yeah. We used to have a ball doing all that stuff, and granted, you can generally tell if something other's been man-made. As far as these structures goes, a lot of them, as far as that they are bedding areas, to a certain degree they might be. But if you get to noticing a lot of your tree structures, for one thing or another, is right along game trails. So with that being said, from what we've determined and found out, that's ambush points.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the. It may have been on one of Vic Cundiff's uh, podcasts. I can't remember if it was him or somebody else. Give a prime example of what I'm talking about. This one guy, he goes in the woods turkey hunting, and he's walking down this trail, and he gets looking, and he thought, "Well, that's the funniest looking stump I've ever seen in my life. I don't never remember seeing that stump being there." Well, he walks right by the stump, or what he thinks is a stump, walks on down about another 60 yards, gets it, gets up on the bank, watching this little open field, and he's turkey hunting. So he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he said he gets the awfulest feeling he's being watched, and there was, and he said he know good and well, he said there wasn't nobody in that area. He said it was gangland. He said only person he thought it might accidentally be the game warden sneaking up on him, but he said he didn't hear no vehicles or anything else. And all of a sudden he said that feeling sort of goes away. Said he sits there for about maybe an hour, don't hear or see a turkey or anything. He thought, well, that's odd. Usually the thing is fields full of turkeys at this time of the morning. So he turns around and looks back up the old logging road that he just came down, looking at where the stump was that he just walked past about an hour or two prior to that. Stump's gone. So he gets up and he goes up there and he goes to looking, and you could plainly see where something other had been sitting on the ground. Looked like kind of like Indian style. And he walked right by it, thought it was a stump, and he gets up there and he looks all over the place. Can't find anything else that resembles what he saw when he came in. So, you know, that Bigfoot was probably sitting there waiting on turkey himself and was going to make an ambush run on the turkey when they come into the field. And I'd say that turkey hunter messed up that Bigfoot's hunt.
Yeah. I agree.
In order to keep from giving himself away, he just waited until that hunter wasn't paying any attention and had his head turned a different way, and he just got up and walked off.
He's talking about something being there and at one moment and wasn't there the next time you looked. I can remember back when Trisha there, she was probably 3 years old or so. I'd went squirrel hunting with this guy up in West Virginia, and we'd went into this area they called it Kilsyth, right outside of Mount Hope, West Virginia. And we'd went up into this, you could drive all the way up in there. It was old strip land and stuff like that. And we'd went up in there and we'd killed a few squirrels, and I'd shot a squirrel up on top of this hill, and then I was seeing it fall, so I went up there to look for it. And you know how it is, you go squirrel hunting, those things can fall and you just never find them because they blend into the leaves and you just never find them. So I went up there looking for a squirrel, and we're looking all around, and back through the trees, we were pretty high up, back through the trees you could see, and way back out into the distance, you're looking into property, acres and acres and acres of property, no houses or anything.
Right.
I seen what looked to be like a big silver, well, not a ball, but it was kind of cylindrical, way back in there. And where it was back in there and stuff, I thought for a moment it was a water tank. I thought it was a water tank back out in there someplace, for a city or something. And and I looked at it several times. I even showed my buddy. I said, "Look at that." I said, I don't know of any towns being back out in that way that have a water tank. That must be something, new or something. They put in a pump station or something. So we didn't think anything else about it, and I didn't find the squirrel. So we continued on up in through there, and we were gone for a couple hours. On the way back, I told him, I said, well, let's jump up there and look for that squirrel one more time. Just make sure that, I hate to kill it and just leave it laying there in the woods, So we got up there and we're looking around, and I actually did find a squirrel. And I looked back out through there again, and that was gone. That wasn't there anymore. It was, and I told him, I said, this is where, I mean, this is my squirrel. I mean, I know it's where, I said, but wasn't that out there? And he's like, yeah. He's like, that's weird. I said, yeah. I said, that was weird. I said, it couldn't have been a hot air balloon. Okay. It wasn't shaped like a hot air balloon or it. Now it could have been like a blimp, but honestly, it was almost on top of the trees, unless the blimp was crashing. And, I mean, a lot of people talk about aliens and stuff like that, and which I do believe. But I seen that, and that's stuck with me all my life. You see something, it was there, and then the next time you go back and you look, that ain't there no more.
Yeah, that's extremely weird when that happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we were getting invaded by aliens in West Virginia. I don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me.
But that's like what I said the other day on that video I sent you when I was at that graveyard. The woods are they're very deceiving. It doesn't matter how dense they are or not. You can look into the woods, see something, turn around for not even a second, turn back, and what you saw, it's not there. And it kind of makes you feel like you're hallucinating. I know that's how I felt because like I saw something. Turn around for just not even a second, turn back, it's gone. I remember when I was a kid, we lived in this trailer court and there was some woods behind our trailer. And I would go play with the neighbor's kid in the woods, and I swear me and this kid saw a woman look with like a hat, like a witch hat. And I swore up and down there was a witch in the woods, but I saw it. And when I looked back, it was gone. And I never saw it anymore. But me and I believe his name was Zach. I don't remember his name, but I think his name was Zach. But I swear me and him both were like, did you see that? Was that a witch? And there really wasn't a lot of like adults that would just be running in the woods. It was mainly just me and this other kid because there really wasn't a lot of kids in the trailer court except for me and him. And his dad was a cop. And we never saw anything after that, but we saw something, turn around for a second, turn back, it's just gone. It's very crazy how that happens. And
oh yeah.
Well, there's a lot of legends and lores out there of witches and stuff like that. Look, like the Native Americans, the Cherokee, for example, the Cherokee, they believe in a witch, and basically it's called Spearfinger.
Yep.
It's called Spearfinger. And in our intro video, that woman that's pointing out like that, that's a Spearfinger. And they believe that she has this pointed finger and she'll stab you in the liver and kill you and eat your liver. And that's what the Cherokee believe. And there's a lot of background and history, especially in this area that I live in, about that. So
there's a lot of bit of that, I think, over around Cherokee as well.
Yeah, that's not too far from me. So
not too far from me either. I can be in Cherokee probably in about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you can be at my house in about 2 hours from where you're at. So actually, I have my Marion Bigfoot shirt on today. Let's see here.
Meanwhile, I'm like 8 hours away.
So, yeah, she's pretty good ways. So she's over there in Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
But you want to know what I can get to pretty quickly? Land between the lakes.
Yeah, don't
I was
rub it
gonna
in.
say you're sitting up there next to the honey hole.
I'm saying, and I've been sitting here thinking about everything that we've talked about the past episodes, and I'm like, I wonder if that creature just runs this whole area. Like, why does he just have to stay and lay between the legs? Is he outside? I mean, I know there's probably multiple of them, but like where I live on a military base. It's pretty much in the middle of the woods. Um, and there was a fishing spot we went to on post a couple weeks ago, and the whole time I was just thinking that, like, I wonder if this creature's just roamed this whole area because it took like 35 minutes to get from my house to the south entrance. That's not far at all. You know, that's just a pretty much. And I was just wondering, like, if he did. I think like the more that I get on here and I talk to you, and the more that me and my dad kind of research and everything, the more comfortable and not so scared that I'm getting. Um, and it's interesting, and it's actually just, I don't know, it's kind of satisfying. And I've had this motto for the longest time now: if the Native Americans warned people about it, then it's true.
Hmm.
You know, I don't think there's been one thing that they've warned people about that hasn't been true. Um, that's what I
You
just
know,
believe.
you were saying about, if they move around and stuff like that. Now, myself personally, I think that Bigfoot, they migrate. They have areas that they move into certain times of the year, because so do the animals. So does game. Game
Yeah,
migrates around from areas to areas depending on the feeding and stuff. And they have different, like you were talking about, Rob, the playground. You know,
Hmm.
and so you have a bedding ground where they stay. You have a feeding ground where they feed, a hunting ground, um, and you have like the playground and stuff like that. And I think that the Sasquatch, they migrate around through different weather patterns and stuff like that. If they can sense that there's a big storm coming in, they're going to go into an area that has more shelter for them. And
Oh yeah.
but as far as this dog man, I think that dog man is there, and he's been there for a long time, and I don't think he's going anywhere. Like I said, I believe,
No, I think they're too territorial myself.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I believe I said in the last video that I think that that land is cursed, and the dog man he's the guardian of the dead. I really do. He's there. He's the guardian of those graveyards, those cemeteries that are in there. So, and as I said before, a lot of the reports on dogmen and stuff are associated with cemeteries,
Hmm.
cemeteries in the area and everything. I find that fascinating. Um,
Oh,
and
I do too.
I've been, doing a lot of research on it and stuff, and for more about it. I hope we find some kind of evidence. I really do when we go in. Um, I wish that I could get in there with y'all, Rob, but it's just not possible for me. So,
Well, we got lucky, and I mean, we'd planned, before too much longer to take an expedition up to the LBL,
hmm
but Greg Ogles decided he wanted to do another film up there, and we got lucky after we befriended Greg, and he decided to join NCI. He wanted to take several teams. NCI is not going to be the only team up there. I think there's going to be two more teams, but I don't recall who all's going. And I think the film crew is going to be pretty extensive. So anything, daytime or nighttime is going to be covered. Uh, Greg's a straight up number one guy. He don't fake any evidence. He don't do like like Discovery or History Channel or Destination America or some other big company like that. They don't produce evidence,
Or right.
and he does basically like we do. If we find it, we find it. If we don't care one bit in the world to look into the camera and say, well, ladies and gentlemen, we came into this area with high hopes. We didn't catch anything. If they're here, today's not the day that they wanted to play.
Right. Right.
And, and if we do find it, we don't care one bit in the world to show it. And anybody can scrutinize it all they want to. We don't sugarcoat anything. We're not going to manufacture any kind of evidence of any kind. It's just straight from the hip. And anything we do, whether it's in the woods or whether we're on Channel 12 TV network, we don't script anything. I mean, whatever said, and whatever happens. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, we don't edit nothing. We don't cut out nothing. We don't go out there in the woods to, make idiots of ourselves or anything else for that matter. If somebody falls and it's comical, yeah, we're going to stand there and laugh our butt off. If somebody, finds some evidence, we're going to pat whoever on the back and say, good job. And we're going to take that evidence and we're going to run with it and see what more evidence and see what else we can find.
Right. Right. There's a lot of shows out there, a few that I know that, you can just, people still watch them though, but they're scripted as hell. I mean, everything's scripted and it's a lot of bad acting.
Yeah. I mean, granted, some stuff, you got to watch and take with a grain of salt. I'm not going to name no names, and I'm not going to, point no fingers at anybody or call anybody out. But when, you've got something other that's almost borderline Karen dramatical, you got to look at it and go, seriously, come on now, you can do better than that. But, if, like I said, if we find it and we see it, great. If we're filming and we're in a location where it can be shot live to either Facebook, YouTube, Channel 12, or anywhere that we can get, the feed shot to, if we happen to do, an actual live investigation, and somebody, that's watching sees something other on the camera that we don't and brings it to our attention, that's even more great, because they saw something other that we didn't see and were totally unaware of.
That happened to Hellbent Holler recently. They had a video that they'd shot a video, and the lady Jess, she's walking and everything, and they were she was being filmed, and from in behind her, you could see it for a moment, was a dark figure. Don't know if it was a Sasquatch or a Dogman, and it was in the LBL. And it was over in behind her. And so one of the commenters on her videos pointed it out. And she had another video where she went in and showed it. I think they had a live video where they was talking about it, and they showed the video of it and stuff like that. And I mean, you just don't know. You record everything and you play everything, because you don't know if there's something you missed and somebody else sees it or not.
Well, that's just like that video we done last year. Found that Dogman. This was after we done got back home and was reviewing the footage, and we done, we pretty much know the area, know about, how far the trees were apart from one another. That's how we found that Dogman. Had no idea he was there, 25 feet behind George. If he'd wanted to, he could have got George and took off with him. But yeah. I think one reason why he didn't, he knew every last one of us was packing to the teeth.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, what was that gentleman's name? I'm Martin. What was it, Trisha?
Martin
The guy
Grove.
there, Martin Groves.
Yeah, Martin
He spoke
Groves.
about in his story. In his story, he spoke about he pulled his pistol and was pointing it at that dog man, and it stopped. He says that you could tell it knew it was in danger from that pistol, and it backed off from him and everything. I mean, they're not. These are not. This is not a bear. You know,
No,
if you point a gun at
Mhm.
a bear doesn't know the difference. This is not a deer. You point a gun at a deer, it doesn't know the difference. But when it's intelligent, as these creatures are, and they have to be intelligent because they stay elusive, they stay hidden, out of sight.
hmm
They know how to hide themselves, and you know, and it's the same thing with a human being. You could put someone in the woods if he don't want to be seen, he ain't gonna be seen, and that's
exactly.
if they know what they're doing, they're not going to be seen. Now, you're not going to go in there jumping around blaze orange and stuff like that and figure on not being seen. But
Exactly.
you are a product of your environment.
Yes,
So
you are.
so you know, like furry creatures and stuff like that. I mean, they just don't stand. They just don't stand out. It's the movement, as we said. It's the
hmm
movement that makes them noticeable. That's why people that go in the woods they really should be paying attention because 25 feet behind you could be standing a dog man.
Yeah, I mean,
I
take a
know.
rattlesnake for example. If a rattlesnake does not sing and you don't hear it quail up, you don't know it's there. It can
Yeah,
still bite you, and you never know nothing about it until it's all over with, said and done, and then it's too late.
I was ginsenging in Boone County, West Virginia, one time up above my sister's home, and I always go with a walking stick, and it's steep country in there. I mean, it's really steep country, but there's a lot of ginseng up in those mountains, so I was up in there and I went to go over a log and I just happened to put my stick over the other side of the log. And when I did, that rattlesnake started singing. And I'm like,
hmm
whoa, big boy. And I stepped back and I walked down. I went around that log. I walked up there and he was just laying there on the other side of the log. I couldn't see him because it was a pretty big log there.
Exactly.
He was just laying. If I'd have just stepped over that, I'd have got a foot full of rattlesnake. And and that
Now,
spooked me.
if it'd been me, the groundhogs have been bringing me my mail because I'd have had a heart attack in on top of
Yeah,
it.
well, I mean, I grew. Look, Rob, we grew up. I grew up with rattlesnakes. That was an everyday occurrence for us in the summertime. We see rattlesnakes almost every day. The National Park Service made a deal, and they brought in rattlesnakes from another state. I don't remember what state it was, but they traded
Texas.
them.
Yeah, it
They
was
they traded them a
Texas.
bunch of wild turkey and for rattlesnakes, and they brought them in and placed them down there on the New River, New River Gorge area and stuff like that. For I think it was for the rodents to try to cut down on the rodents and stuff like that. But yeah, man, as a kid, and I'm talking 12, 13-year old kid, I was killing rattlesnakes with a 20-inch bicycle.
hmm
We'd see it stretched across the road, and man, we'd just start pumping that bike as hard as we could, and we'd hit that rattlesnake and lock up that back wheel and slide across it and kill them.
hmm
So I don't know how many rattlesnake buttons I had back then. So
Well, about I think it was about 25 years ago, the North Carolina Wildlife Commission cut a deal with the Texas Wildlife Commission. About I think it's about 35 miles down the road from my house. I can't remember how many they turned loose, but they turned loose Texas diamondback rattlesnakes in this one area. Reason being, the our black timber rattler and the Texas diamondback, you breed those two together, and I think it's one out of every 10. and I can't remember how many rattlesnakes our timber rattlers has at a time. They have quite a few, and one out of every 10 comes out as a true Texas diamondback. The reason why they did that was they said the Texas rattlesnake roundup was putting a hurt on the rattlesnake population in Texas. So they were to come back in and go through the woods and find the true Texas diamondback. Yeah, the true Texas diamondback, and take them back to Texas. I don't think they ever did that.
Yeah, I
Reason
probably.
being, reason being, this was about I think it was about 18 years ago. This one old guy was going down an old gravel road over on the Forest Service land. Sees something other in the road, and he gets to looking. He said, "That's the strangest looking rattlesnake I've ever seen." Well, he goes ahead and kills it, and he throws it in the bed of his truck. He said, "I'm going to take it to the game warden, let the game warden see what kind of snake this is. I've never seen this before." Well, just as he got down to this little old country store where a bunch of them always hangs out to tell deer tales, bear tales, and everything else. Just as he starts to get out of the truck, he said this little old voice goes off in the back of his head. "Don't you dare admit to killing that snake. Don't you dare admit to killing this snake." Well, he said his daddy and his granddaddy always told him, said, "If you hear a voice in your head, that's your guardian angel trying to keep you from getting in trouble."
Mhm.
Well, he goes into that store and he asked them guys, he said, "Where's game warden so and so at?" Well, he'll be back in a few minutes. He rode up this other road, and it was a dead end road. He said to check a gate, and he'll be back in a few minutes. He always comes down here about such and such time and gets him a sandwich, because back then you could get at them old country stores, you could get a ham sandwich or a lunch meat sandwich or a bologna sandwich and have it, with tomato and mayonnaise and salt and pepper and cheese and whatever else you wanted on it. Well, he waited for that game warden to come back. He said, "I want to show you something other." He said, "I found dead in the road a while ago." He said, "Why don't you tell me what this is?" He said, "I ain't never seen this before." He said, "That game warden seen that snake." He said, "He turned 47 shades of white."
Hmm.
He looked at that old boy. He said, "If I could prove you killed that snake," he said, "I'd see to it you built the next 20 years in a federal penitentiary." He said, "That snake is protected," and he told him why. He said, "Well, I didn't kill it." He said, "I just found it." He said, "I just thought it was odd and unusual." And he said, "I'm telling you," he said, "if I can prove you killed that snake," he said, "I'd see to it personally you spent the next 20 years in the federal penitentiary."
Hmm.
So, that's on them snakes and first one thing another. That's something other you don't want to fool with too awful much.
No, no, and I don't recommend people try to get in close enough to kill a rattlesnake. They can strike twice their length.
Oh yeah,
So if they coil up, they can jump out twice their length. So if you get one that's 4 foot long, well, that snake can jump 12 foot.
oh yeah,
So you stay if you see one, you hear one rattling. Best thing you can do is mind your own business and keep on moseying on. So
absolutely.
And I
they're,
believe
they're
what he said about that, like spending 20 years in prison for that, because we just moved from El Paso, Texas, and that's like rattlesnake city right there. It's nothing but desert.
Hmm.
And we lived on Fort Bliss, and when we first moved in, they told us, hey, there's a very high chance you could get a rattlesnake in your backyard. So I'm thinking, oh, that's just lovely. Well, what do we do, like, if we find one in our backyard? And here my husband goes, well, I look at him like, I guess you're gonna kill it. And the lady goes, no, you can't kill it. And I'm like, sitting there thinking, what do you mean I can't kill it? I have kids that play in the backyard. Before we found out that we have these demonic things called goat heads. And I was like, so, if there's a rattlesnake in my backyard and my kids are out there and we can't kill it, what are we supposed to do? She's like, well, you have to call the National Park Service or the park rangers or the police or another organization, she said, but I can't remember the name of it, and they'll come and remove it for you. Well, the only way to remove it, because there was no way to get out of the backyard, is to carry it through my house. And but yeah, that's crazy because
That's why you throw it in the neighbor's yard.
I could have because I didn't like my neighbors. I
Yeah.
didn't like my neighbor. I wasn't going outside getting it. I would have made my husband do it. I don't do snakes. I don't do spiders. But yeah, like you're right about that. You can't kill them. They won't
Yeah,
let
they
you kill
told
'em.
us growing up, they told us we wasn't allowed to kill them either, but we killed them on a regular basis. We killed
Yeah.
every one that we seen.
Well, I'm telling you now, if one is in my yard and it's a threat. If it's in my yard, it's a threat to me. It's a threat to my dogs. It's a threat to my kids. I'm gonna kill that SOB. Like
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I'd
Don't
rather
feel bad.
spend
I feel
time
the
in
same
jail.
exact way.
Yeah, I'd rather spend time in
I
jail
don't
than
do
see my
snakes.
kid bit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know what? It's been about an hour, so I think that we can probably wrap it up for tonight if you want to. I mean, if anybody's got anything else, um, Rob, I appreciate you giving us your stories tonight. And
Well,
like I
you're more
said,
than welcome.
I heard you on that big, I think it was Bigfoot Society. Is that what you said it was that you were on?
I think it's Vic Cundiff's Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio.
Yeah, Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio. I heard you on that, and that's when I reached out to you and everything.
I'm
I
glad you did.
took some searching to find you and everything. I found you on Facebook, and I sent you a message and thing. Yeah, I'm glad I did too. It gives me some people like me, in my area. But but I guess we'll just call that a wrap, and we'll get on and we'll see everybody next week on the show. And I think when this show airs, this is going to be a recorded episode because when this airs, we're going to be in the LBL. So that's why I had to record this one early. But so next week we're going to have Natalie Spearman. We're going to have Natalie
Cool.
on here, and she's committed to coming on the show, and she's pretty awesome. I've watched a couple of interviews with her, and she's pretty awesome too.
Now Natalie has a title.
A what?
Natalie has a title.
A title? What's her title?
That is Queen Natalie.
Queen Natalie. Yeah, I could see that. I seen
Yes.
that she was on Boom Boom Show and everything. That she was talking about the Shadow Man and everything. I loved that little clip video that Brian posted where she was talking about because she was just all into it, and she was dead serious. She's gonna kick Shadow Man's butt.
Now Natalie, I will admit, I just met her back at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I think it was either June or July. I can't remember which. And Natalie is a highly intelligent individual. She is a very sweet somebody. As far as you're around her for 10 minutes, you act like it's like you've known her for 100 years. I mean, she's got that kind of personality. I mean, Natalie is a walking lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
She's just the sweetest somebody that ever was. I can't say enough about her. She's smart. She's intelligent. She knows exactly what she's doing in the woods, and whatever she tells you is a absolute gospel truth. I mean, she will not fudge on anything.
Well, that's good. That's really good. That's what we want is honesty and stuff. But saying that, I guess that we'll call it a night, and I appreciate everybody joining us, and we'll be back again next Saturday at 9 p.m. and hopefully with more material. We'll have Natalie on here. So I'm really excited because I haven't got to talk to Natalie other than when I messaged her on social
Mm-hmm.
media. So I haven't even been really introduced to her yet. So I'm really excited for that show. But at that, tell everybody bye.
Have a good one, everybody.